I wrote this in 2 days, and I wrote it with AI. Now, it was 2 full days. It was me working because they're my stories and my examples, right? There is not a better way to gain someone's trust than to have a book, a best-selling book, that has your methodology, your process, the way you think about things, your examples.
Rob, you're living inside my head for a period of time. I've allowed you inside my head, not just audibly, but literally I'm visually reading it and you are reading inside my head.
The right people are reading the book thinking, is this person the right person for me? And if they are, then you're in. You have a customer.
Welcome to ClickFunnels Radio, the podcast that brings you the latest strategies, insights, and success stories from online marketers just like you who utilize funnels to grow their business. Our mission is simple: to help you unleash the true potential of your online business by harnessing the power of funnels. Join us every week as we bring you exclusive interviews and thought-provoking discussions that will revolutionize the way you approach online marketing. Here are your hosts, Chris Cameron and Ben Harris.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of ClickFunnels Radio. We've got somebody here that has done incredible work in our industry in the past and is even paving the way forward with some of the tech advancements that we now have in our space to just absolutely project into the next millennium, really, but the next wave of productivity and obviously sales too. But without teasing too much, Chris, you can't give it away, but you excited about this? What are you feeling?
Yeah, this is so interesting. I've known our guest for a long time, and this guy's been so instrumental in helping people get their name out with credibility, with authority. So anyways, let's introduce him. This is going to be fun.
Heck yeah. Let's welcome Rob Kosberg to the show, if I don't stumble over my own words. Rob, thank you for coming on. And how are you today?
Thanks, Ben. Chris, good to see you guys. Great, man. Happy to be here. And, love talking to you guys. Obviously, big ClickFunnels fan. Been a beta user of ClickFunnels since forever. So, yeah, man, you're
like one of the OGs. Like, tell us how that happened. How did you and Russell initially connect, and how did you start using ClickFunnels for books? Because we know you help authors and you do a lot of publishing stuff. But what's that backstory? If you give us the Cliff Notes.
It's actually an interesting story, although I think my video is blowing us out. Let me turn it off and turn it back on if that's okay. There we go.
Sorry. Good. There you go.
Yeah. It's an interesting story, at least to me. So I was originally, now I've been buying Russell's stuff since probably micro continuity and maybe before micro continuity, though I never really had much of an interest in learning how to use a potato gun. But all the marketing stuff I certainly loved. And of course I joined his inner circle in the first time in 2014. So that's 10 years ago that I've been in inner circle, except for the period of time that he had shut it down. But when lead pages came out, obviously pre-ClickFunnels, I saw, the ability for us to start creating, some landing pages and some funnels, because we were running book funnels for a long, long time. Obviously a significantly less technical version of it than we run right now, or than you see like on Facebook and Instagram, et cetera. But I was using lead pages, and was using lead pages in conjunction with a lot of, kind of like everyone was doing, built out sites. And, it was totally Frankenstein together. And I joined as soon as Russell launched ClickFunnels, I became a user of it, but I never used it, right? So for like the first 4 months from day one, I was a, beta user of ClickFunnels, but, it was $97 a month. I never used it. And because, I had all these other Frankenstein things together. And my tech guy, who has been with me for more than 12 years, had like an emergency surgery issue with his tooth. And so he was out. And the day that he was out, I was running a webinar to a high ticket offer, a $12,000 offer. And I went in like an hour, no exaggeration, an hour before my webinar on GoToWebinar, just to check all the pages. I always do that. I'm kind of anal retentive on that kind of stuff. And doggone it, nothing worked. And nothing worked. We learned later, nothing worked because we migrated from, one server to another. I don't know all the technical stuff that I know nothing about. So I was freaking out because we had like 1,000 people register for this. We spent a lot of money on it. So I went to ClickFunnels, and in 45 minutes, 30 minutes, I created a little webinar funnel, honest to goodness, and attached our Stripe account to it and attached the autoresponder to it. And I am so non-technical. And that day, we did 24,000 on that, on that webinar. And then following over the rest of the week, we did like another 36,000 or so. It was a 12K and a 6K offer. And I told Russell about that.
Was this offer then to help people publish books?
Oh yeah, it was all book stuff. I mean, that's all. Cool. That's all we've done for a long time. But yes, it was all book stuff. But I told Russell that, and he actually featured that. I don't know. It was like in the first 6 months of ClickFunnels starting, and I am like the least technical guy. I mean, I can get around, right? But I don't know how to build stuff out. And I was so grateful. We never looked back after that. So we've been, all in on ClickFunnels ever since that day. And, I don't know, we have like 500 funnels built out over how many years has it been? 8, 9, 10 years? A long time.
10 years now. It's crazy. Yeah. And you've got the Two Comma Club X over your shoulder there. What funnel was that?
So that's our high ticket funnel. So it's our webinar to call funnel.
Perfect.
All of our stuff is high ticket except for the more recent stuff, which is our software, which there's a whole story about that. But yeah, all of it is high ticket. And so honestly, there's 2 of them now. I haven't put in for my second one. So yeah, it's all been through ClickFunnels in the last 10 years.
And listen, this may be for you really, really basic, but I think for people who are listening and tuning in and trying to understand, we use these key phrases in the jargon, high ticket funnel, webinar, book to call, like it makes perfect sense to all of us.
Right.
Will you just give us like a 30,000 foot overview of like what that process is? Somebody comes to a landing page, the call to action on the webinar, and kind of how you close them down. What does that flow look like?
Yeah, we have 3 main funnels that we use. The webinar funnel is actually running one on Thursday, so we run them all the time. But basically, it's traffic and warm, coldish, warm traffic that is run to a 2-hour live event, and we actually pitch high ticket on it. So I let people know that the price points are $8,000 and $15,000. And then we tell them the only way to purchase is to book a call, but we will not book a call unless they give us a $1,000 deposit. So it's an unusual funnel. Not many people run a funnel like this, but so we book a call to that $1,000 deposit.
You tell them that $1,000 is refundable, or
it's 100% refundable.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
But by that time they've been with me for hours. They know the price point. They know exactly what they're getting. And so usually that $1,000 is just, okay, let's work out a payment plan, or let me get a few personal questions answered, that kind of thing. And so, about 90% of those people that book a call will close. Some we end up refunding because they don't really have the money, but they're like hoping. They give us $1,000 and they're hoping that we can pull a rabbit out of the hat, but we can't.
What a cool way to pre-qualify though too. You're saving your high ticket sales guys a lot of time of like, okay, tell me, and compliance and everything else. Like, tell me what your goals are. Remember, Onnit got hit on that one, and it's just. It's wild. So yeah, $1,000 down, get on the call, and then you're getting 90% close. You just qualifying to make sure that they have the money and know what they're doing.
If someone's given us a deposit, they have every intention of following through. And sometimes that doesn't work out, but most of the time it does, because they know everything. They know the price point. They know the full offer. And obviously it's got to be a great webinar. Not many people run a high ticket offer like that, but I like to do it that way. I don't want to waste our sales team's time. Now we do also, the second funnel is a book a call funnel, which is, some type of case study or some type of short, video sales letter to book a call and see if we can help you. And that's our least qualified. Those are our least qualified calls, to be quite honest. But obviously, we've done very well with that. We've been running that forever, and I'm talking 20,000, 30,000 applications over
Wow.
over the. Oh yes. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
easily over that period of time. And then the book funnel is probably, besides the $1,000 application, anybody that gives us $7.95 or buys one or two of the upsells, those are always the most qualified people we talk to.
And so are you doing physical books as you send these out, or are these digital? $7.95, you doing book?
We
Both?
run both funnels. So we run a digital funnel, and we run the actual free plus shipping funnel as well.
Perfect.
You
I
just
really like
mentioned
the free plus shipping.
Yeah, I want to hit on that because you just mentioned whether they are paying their deposit, which I presume would qualify as like a credit towards your overall purchase price, or the book funnel, both highly qualified buyers, even though one is $8 and one's $1,000 deposit. Why
Right.
would you still say that a $8 book buyer is a qualified buyer? Because I've always believed this too, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
There's a couple of reasons. Obviously, somebody that knows the offer and gives us $1,000, it's hard to be more qualified than that, right?
Sure.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay. So that, let's take that off the table for a moment. But as you guys know, because you talk to people every single week and you've been around forever doing this, it's hard to sell anything on the internet. It's hard to sell something for $7. Somebody's got to pull out their credit card and put the digits in, and
That's the biggest hurdle, right? Is doing that. That's why upsells, order bumps, all this works. Like, get the credit card out of their wallet.
It is so hard. And so when somebody is serious enough to take that commitment, that's somebody that is, at least at that point, this is not just a freebie seeker, which is a very, very different person. So it's not,
Totally.
That's not a buyer. A buyer is a buyer is a buyer, as Dan Kennedy used to say, or still says.
Still does.
Right. Still says. And so, whether they're buying something for $7.95 or, $17,000, they're still a buyer. Now, the other reason the book funnel is great, besides the fact that we're getting a buyer to raise their hand, is when someone consumes your book, they've decided if they're going to get in touch with you, they've decided if they like you or not. And if they're going to get in touch with you, most of the time they are 3/4 of the way to purchasing. They just need to get some details. They need to get some investment, ranges, et cetera. And they're ready to go. I mean, they've already decided. They know you, they like you, they trust you, they believe your case studies, et cetera, and they're ready to move forward.
So how do you get them to take them to the next step? Okay, so they get free plus shipping. And then is this like an email confirmation that comes up that invites them to do the next part? Like, what's the next part? Is it going to that webinar?
Yeah. So there's obviously multiple different things, but what we really want them to do is we want them to consume content. So, just like you said, we have the book purchase price. Then there's a number of upsells, the audio version of the book, there's courses, et cetera. And then, we do the unadvertised bonus, which is basically a 45-minute training of like our entire process of enhanced ghostwriting and what that looks like. And then there's a book a call link right under that training.
Nice.
If they don't book a call at that point, then the autoresponder sends them back, watch the training, read the book.
Yeah.
And then, if you're interested in talking with us, then, here's the link, here's the place to book the call, et cetera. So if they consume, then they reach out to us. They're a long way down the path of buying.
Now, this sounds pretty simple, right? But people have to understand the simplicity has generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue, right?
Yeah.
And what's weird is I think some people, everybody loves the idea of having a book, but they also have this roadblock because I know that it's super hard, right? I've never personally done, but I've watched Russell go through it many times.
Yeah.
You've gone through it a bunch of times and you help people do this. And so that's one of the items, but you've got a new book out that really dives more into this whole AI thing. And that's the buzz everywhere. Everybody's talking about AI. But for me, right, if I have a voice, Rob has a voice, Ben has a voice, all of our listeners do, it might be hard for them to trust AI in their own voice. So give us kind of the synopsis of this book. Like, how are you using AI to do this? This is fascinating to me.
Yeah. Thanks. That's a great question. most of what you see about AI when it comes to software for writing books is wrong and
Okay.
and dangerous. Because the ads, it's not that they overpromise, it's that they overpromise the wrong thing. So the ads will be like, write your book in seconds. Literally, those are the ads.
Oh, yeah.
Or write your perfect book in 15 minutes. And of course, yes, AI, you can put several prompts in and AI will spit something out for you. But number one, it's not going to be your book because your book has your story, your case studies, your examples. And there's no way for AI to have any of that information without you inputting that information,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out though with AI. Like,
100%. And the second thing is Amazon hates that. Amazon
sure.
came out about 5 or 6 months ago, and they have very strict policies now because what has happened? Well, the market has been flooded with AI generated content. And so people are trying to earn a quick buck off of Kindle and Amazon with AI generated content. So Amazon has come out and said that we're classifying AI content in two ways. One is AI generated, which is just what I described. Write your book in seconds, right? Just a few prompts and the book will be spit out, regurgitated garbage. Or AI assisted content. AI assisted content is what real authors will use AI for. And that is to get help with the telling of your story, your case studies, your examples, or getting AI to help you with rewrites, to help you where you're stuck, to help you really dial in the demographic of your avatar, et cetera.
Like
And so
verbiage,
that's
flow, sequence. Is that kind of what it's doing?
all of that. So
Okay.
the way so I wrote Write with AI, which I don't even think you guys knew about it before we jumped on the call. I wrote this in 2 days, and I wrote it with AI. Now it was 2 full days. It was me working because they're my stories and my examples, right? But I wrote this because over the past couple of years, we've been developing a software with AI to help writers that can't afford to pay us $50,000 for a big ghostwriting and launch, process. And so we wanted to create something in the marketplace that will really generate books for people that are their books, right? That Amazon loves. And so I was actually in Boise. I was at an inner circle meeting with Russell. I think it was October of last year. So
Mhm.
just a few months ago. And I asked Russell, I said, look, you blew up ClickFunnels, using your books. And I said, I have this software. I really think this is an answer to, a lot of people's problems when it comes to writing. I said, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And he basically called me out and he said, look, if I were you and the software is so good, then I would write a book in like a month or write a book in like 3 weeks and show everybody that you've written a book this fast and it's this good with AI. And I was like, oh man, I mean, I was in front of the whole group, of course, it was during the decade and the day thing. And I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
what am I going to do now? Of course he's right, but
Yeah.
I didn't really want to do that. But I did, and I wrote
Why
it in a
didn't you?
long
What were your
weekend.
pain points around that? Why didn't you want to do that? Because it sounds like a
It's a
great
lot of
idea.
work, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of work. And I
Yeah.
wasn't going to use them. I wasn't going to be relying on my team, right? It wouldn't be
Mm.
fair to rely on my team if I'm telling people this is totally me. This is me and AI. This is not my team. It's not my ghostwriters. It's not my editors. It's not my proofreaders. And so I knew I can get it done fast with my team, but it was about putting my money where my mouth was, right? And so
Fascinating.
so I had some trepidation around
You
them, like,
become your
oh
own
crap.
case study. Like you're like,
Yeah,
okay, well, hey,
yeah,
watch me do it, and then I'll show you how to do it.
exactly.
Wow.
I really want to dive into your software, but I have a basic question that I know our audience would enjoy if we just brush over briefly. Is, and I've at nauseum begged some of my buddies to do this that are in the insurance field and just the financial services field. So Nick and David, if you're listening, I'm calling you out. A lot of people, when you say you should write a book, they're like, New York Times bestseller. They think of J.K. Rowling or something like
Right.
that, where
Right.
a lot of times writing a book can be such a driver of business for a multitude of reasons, right? Whether it's lead generation, even just, a self-liquidating offer you can sell on the internet, or being
Yep.
a business card on steroids, right? That's almost the same cost as print, depending on how many you want to print, etc.
Yeah.
Can you drive that home for people that are maybe on the fence or they don't understand the power of maybe being a published author?
Yeah. Good.
There's a lot of power in it. And we didn't talk about this at all. I have to, because you've teed this up so beautifully. I mean, I just put a podcast out like 3 days ago with a client, a financial advisor. We do a lot of financial advice books. Because it's so easy for them to make money with their book. It's so easy because their average client is worth so much money. For them to use a book to attract clients is like such a no-brainer. So I did a book probably 2 years ago for a client. He was actually selling his financial advisory firm. He was older, early 60s. And wanted to take some time off, and we did this book on tax saving strategies and financial advice. And I was like, why are you doing this? Like, you're selling your firm. He goes, I really want to get this information out there. I really feel like this has been there's been a big gap in the marketplace. And I said, look, this is $1 million a year business very easily. And he heard what I said. He took me up on it. He built a book funnel. And he will do between 5 and 7 million this year from his book funnel.
Wow.
Good for him.
Yeah. And it's all from his book funnel. And I'm talking about simple Facebook and Instagram traffic. His book funnel is not special. In fact, I went through it and just picked it apart. And I was like, Craig, you got to change this. You got to change this. I mean,
come on, Craig.
But he's making so much money. I mean, it's almost stupid to change anything.
Yeah, people are voting with their wallets. They're pulling their credit card out.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I'm sorry that I undershot your performance so much. I told you it'd be about $1 million a year business, and it's between 5 and 7. Wow. His biggest problem now is he can't bring on advisors fast enough. He's basically, his business is bigger now since he retired than it's ever been before. Obviously, he's kind of reintegrated, but so that's not a direct answer to your question. That's more indirect. So I'd say there's probably 3 main direct ways. Number one is, especially for like somebody in the trust business, and all of us that are selling something that's expensive, we're in the trust business. So if you're in the trust business, meaning you're selling something expensive, then there is not a better way to gain someone's trust than to have a book, a best-selling book that has your methodology, your process, the way you think about things, your examples, so that somebody can, thumb through it, find a chapter or two, read about themselves in your case study, and then see, okay, this dude really knows what he or she is talking about. So if you're in the trust business, there's nothing better than a book. That's number one. Number two is media, like a free resource to get your name and information out into the world. Media needs content. So they need content creators. And their biggest barrier to having content creators on TV, radio, even big media is, can they trust you? Or are you like a sham? Or are you like, a bad guy I'm going to find out about one day? Well, if you've written a book, you again have checked that box for like a program manager of a TV station or a radio station or a podcast, et cetera, that this girl, this guy knows what he or she is talking about. And then the last is direct. It's what I started with. It's using the book in conjunction with a funnel, which is just a no-brainer. So long-winded answer there. Sorry.
No, that's exactly what we needed. Yeah. And I don't know, after hearing that, if anyone has any reservations against it, I'm sure, your minds have changed. And maybe a lot of people would say they haven't written it because it's hard, or they don't know what to write about, right? Even maybe I'd be in that camp. I've always thought about, like I'll for sure write it when I know. And I've never, what would you say to, maybe I just asked this question selfishly, but I think other people would have it as well. Yeah. Someone who don't know what to write about it, where would they start?
Yeah. Well, the number one place that we always start is, tell me about your best customer that you want more of. Tell me about who they are, their demographics, their psychographics. Tell me about how you serve them. Tell me about their pain points. It's, in some ways, it's marketing 201, 301, right? Now, if someone tells me, well, I hate that business and I don't want to be in that business, then of course we have to take a step back and say, okay, what business do you really want to be in, right? Like, like what do you really want to be doing? Because I've done a number of books for people that are very, very successful and wealthy, but they want to pivot. So, it starts with, what do you really want? What are you really trying to attract? Who are you really trying to attract? And then we have to, help you to pull out the secret sauce that is already within you. Like if you've been doing your thing for any length of time, you probably have like a real unconscious intelligence and
Oh yeah.
excellence around
Yeah.
your specialty. And so it's pulling that information out, which we have a process we call it enhanced ghostwriting that does that. Usually, the people that aren't sure what they're going to write about, their biggest problem is by the time they get done, they have too much, and we have to really whittle it down and be more narrow.
I love that last piece there. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, this might be one that you like to ask too, Ben. I want to know if there's like something. What is the craziest, like outlandish, weird, like topic or subject that you've helped somebody write about?
Sometimes we don't always publish it under bestseller publishing. We don't do anything.
I want to hear those.
Yeah. We don't do anything from a moral standpoint that, because we have our own convictions about what's right and wrong. And so there's nothing that's pornographic and we do very, very little fiction, but we've done a lot of stuff that is story based and crazy, crazy stories, oftentimes in politics with lawsuits and,
wow.
things, I mean, there's just bizarre stories that happen in people's lives where they get mixed up with something that, and I know this isn't even a good, because I can't tell you what the examples are, but it's just, think Charles Manson, not that we're writing Charles Manson story, but think, a bystander of Charles Manson and lawsuits and Supreme Court and all that kind of stuff. So there's certainly crazy stuff like that. Now that, unfortunately, a lot of times that, believe it or not, isn't as economically viable as, the simple financial advisor, estate planning attorney, doctor, dentist, coach, consultant. Like those are, I always tell people, like those kind of stories where we got to sell 1 million books, that's like either a home run or just write the story because you love it, right? Because you want it, you've always wanted to tell it. The people that are, coaches, consultants in the expert space, consultants, whatever. I mean, they're like, you're always hitting singles, doubles, and triples. They're like easy, right? It's like it's easy to make money with a book in those fields. Harder in the like outlandish story field.
That's
which
awesome.
makes sense.
Yeah. It's either a home run. Like we've had a couple clients who've had their books made into movies, but just because it's made into a movie doesn't mean it's going to make any money. I mean, that's not, even that is not like a guarantee of success. So you never know.
And that's even back to your original point as well of just checking that authority box, right? Like for me being Ben Harris, if I'm now Ben Harris author, you are completely positioned in a different way as an expert, right? That maybe could allow you to get your foot in the door, whether it's certain podcasts, speaking engagements, different types of clients, meetings now. That's just, again, position is everything, especially when you're in the trust-based business.
Well, even more if you're Ben Harris, author of Super Funnel Marketing, the definitive guide to using a funnel to make all the money in the world, right? Like then you're like, then you're trusted by the people that want to buy your super funnel. I mean, right? Like it's one thing to be trusted in a general sense. Oh, great. If I ever think of somebody that I want to have a conversation with, it might be cool. But if you're trusted in a very narrow space, then, now you have something that's really economically viable.
I'm curious on this whole writing a book topic and like the psychology of learning from reading a book, right? I mean, listen, people who love video, they watch YouTube. People who love podcasts, they listen to podcasts, read newspaper. People who love books. Yeah. Like I'll give you an example. I walked into Barnes and Noble, Rob, the Saturday before Mother's Day. I was getting this little book that I couldn't find. and it was packed. It was a new Barnes and Noble, but it had been there for like 2 months. And I asked the lady, I said, is this, something that is just because you guys are just opened or because it's the weekend or because it's Mother's Day? She goes, it is like this every single Saturday. So my point here is there something different about a book? Because if you've written a book and I'm reading it, Rob, you're living inside my head for a period of time. I've allowed you inside my head, not just audibly, but literally I'm visually reading it and you are reading inside my head. Yeah. Versus any other medium. Is there something more powerful with that than, say, podcast or video?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The statistics, the numbers would say yes, like considerably more. What's the psychology behind that? I don't know the answer to, but I will say this. People always ask us questions like, how much of my secret sauce do I reveal, or how much of my magic, and there's been lots of discussion about the idea of moving the free line, right? Giving your best stuff away, et cetera. And we always recommend that they do that for a couple reasons. And this is what I've seen, and I don't know that I have any psychological data to back this up, but I've certainly seen this over thousands of customers. And that is when someone is reading a really specific book, and I have done this a number of times, and I bet you guys have as well. When someone's reading a really specific book on a specific topic, pick that topic, financial advice, a book on authorship, whatever. They're doing it with something in mind. They're doing it with a goal in mind because ergo the specificity. They're not reading it for pleasure, pure pleasure, right? They have a goal in mind. So what really happens when you give someone your best stuff and the case studies to back that up, et cetera, is your correct customer, your right customer doesn't automatically think, well, I'm just going to go do that. I don't need anybody else. What they think is, this guy is brilliant. This girl completely gets it. And if they're the right customer, the ones that understand that money is less valuable than time is worth more than money, then they're going to reach out to you and they're going to say, what do I have to pay to speed this process up and ensure that it's going to be done the right way, right? Now, I have done both things. I have purchased books that I had a very specific mindset. I knew I wasn't reading this book to learn the methodology. One in particular was on YouTube, using YouTube advertising and YouTube marketing. And I picked up a book on it. I read it. The book was absolute garbage. It was a glorified transcript. And because of that, I chose not to work with that individual.
Sure.
So it drove me away because I thought it was shoddy. Not because I didn't think they were good, or I didn't know if they were good at YouTube or not. I assumed that they were, but because it was shoddy, I thought shoddy work means, probably shoddy work for me as a client. So I chose against it. So people, the right people are reading the book thinking, is this person the right person for me? And if they are, then you're in. You have a customer.
Yeah, I mean, uninterrupted, right? Inside somebody's head is some real estate that is tough to
powerful.
But what's funny? You said, like, where's this line for free? And I'm always a student studying Russell and some of the prime mover stuff that we're doing. What he does for webinars specifically is he's teaching you the what. Yeah. If you want the how, that's when you got to pay for it. And I think that's such an easy line right there, is that people have to pay for the how. But there's a lot of what that can be put into a book. And then in the higher end coaching, like, okay, we'll show you exactly how to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Yeah, totally true. And honestly, what you can only put so much in a book anyway. You only want your book to be 150 to 200 pages. And so, you're telling stories, you're trying to drive engagement. People are interested in stories more than they're interested in, they're not buying a textbook here or a manual. They want to be engaged.
Very true there. That's a point that I overlooked forever until now. Like, that's a complete, even, teaching through parables and telling stories.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Chris, do you have any questions to tie a bow on that, or can we jump back into software? Cause I want to hear all about it.
Back in the software. Well, I wanted to know on the AI too, like, you felt that it was going to be painful and then you wrote a book. Did you find that it was a lot easier than you initially had, like pain wise?
Yeah, yeah. Like a lot of things, right, that you procrastinate on. Oftentimes
Yeah.
they're easier than you think they are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was actually more in love with my software after I wrote a book in 2.5 days than I was before. I think before it was a product of 2 years of creating it, and you kind of fall in love with this process
Sure.
of let's do it the right way. But then when I actually used it to write my book, and my book's done exceptionally well. I mean, my book funnel is crushing it, and it's been number one. We didn't even do an official launch of it. We just published it because I was running a book funnel at the same time, and it has been number one perpetually for the last 3 months on
Wow,
on
that's
using AI to write, which is really cool.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I can walk you through like what it means to us to write with AI,
I'd
as
love to hear it.
opposed to what I think is wrong.
Yeah, I'd love
You
to hear
know,
it.
yeah. Basically, I already shared what I think is wrong, and Amazon is highlighting that, right? They don't want AI generated content. They don't want you to put three super prompts in and have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 words. They don't want that. They want content that is original. And so the way we look at it is, we have this whole what we call enhanced ghostwriting process, which is our trademark writing process. And so what we did is we kind of took that process and we built software, and specifically AI software, around that process. So it all starts with, Ben, what we were talking about a few minutes ago, and that is, okay, who is your ideal client? Tell me a little bit about the kind of person you serve, answer some questions about their demographics, their age, their sex, and then you can ask the software basically to, okay, tell me, what are the big problems that this individual has? What are the big solutions that they're looking for? What should this book really hit on? And so we build out what we call a reader avatar and a mission statement before a single word is generated in the book itself. All of that is done really following the exact process that we follow when we're one-on-one with a $50,000 client, right? That's the stuff we want as a foundation before we ever move into getting a writer involved, et cetera. So we do the exact same thing, except it doesn't take a month one-on-one. It takes, 7 minutes or 8 minutes, and you can literally get, some amazing info. Then Manny, Manuscriptor is a software. We affectionately termed it Manny. And so Manny will then create a great hook, title, and subtitle. It'll give you examples. How about this for a title? How about this for a subtitle? Because we want a working title and subtitle before we ever go into chapters or any of that, because it's the hook, right? It's hook, story, offer, right? I mean, it's the same thing. We want a great hook before we move on. And so there's rules around how to create a great title, and we've built all of that into Manny as well. From there, okay, tell me what the chapters should be, how they should be organized. So Manny will help you to lay out your chapters, give you ideas. At any point, by the way, none of this is AI generated because you haven't written anything yet. It's assisting you with your path, right? Your map to write. And so we've done all of that. And then we give, Manny will do all kinds of things. It will give them content. It will give them stories and anecdotes if they don't have it. The thing that I loved about it the most is it has a great speech to text feature, which is not new. But what it does is the spoken word is really different than the written word, right? Like you asked me one question and I haven't stopped talking. It's like one sentence. It's one, 30-page
sure.
sentence. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't read that way. We read in short, punchy sentences and bullet points and introductions and conclusions and all of that. And so what I did when I wrote my book is I literally pulled up my PowerPoints and I spoke it. I hit the speech to text. I spoke it. And then Manny rewrote it all in my voice,
that's great.
with correct grammar, correct spelling, correct punctuation, a full edit like a writer would do just from my spoken word. And it was awesome. I mean, I changed almost nothing and had my editors look through it, and it was like 99.9%. I was so encouraged, so proud of it. So that's the way. I mean, we want your stories, your case studies, your client examples. That's what Amazon wants. And that's what your customers want, by the way. That's not what they don't want, some kind of regurgitated information about, stocks versus, whatever, the index 500, et cetera. They want like real information that's going to keep them interested and is compelling.
Wow. So you're doing that right now through a free plus shipping that leads with AI, and that leads into the software.
Yep. It's
Love that.
well, we do a free plus shipping or a digital.
Gotcha.
We have two bumps, that are writing related. And then we have it's a poor version of a Mifke, but
Okay.
but it's doing well. So
Yeah.
basically we give them a 7-day free trial and some bells and whistles to give us the free trial, and then the free trial leads into a $97 a month. But what we really want is we want to sell them the $1,000 package, which
Sure.
comes with group coaching calls and all this other content, and so then we upsell from there.
Yeah. So that's like a kind of a not doing it solo. It's a little bit done with you, maybe over the shoulder hybrid.
It's still solo for $1,000.
Yeah.
It's still solo, but they still get people in a group setting they can interact with.
Smart.
So even
Smart.
when they go through everything, you know how it is. Like there's trepidation. You're writing something, and so you want to ask, does this sound good?
You want a soundboard?
What do you think? Yeah. And so we give them that, and we give them that for a year for $1,000, which I think is
that's unbelievable,
ridiculously
Huge
stupid,
value.
right?
I can tell you what people are going
like,
to want.
yeah,
People are
like,
going to know where to find this. So
yeah,
if
well, I
people
hope
want to
so.
know more or how to do this, where's the best place for them to go find you? And then maybe a couple social handles where they can follow you.
Yeah, the book is on Amazon, but you can find it. You can get it for free, of course. Writewithai.com, writewithai.com. And that's probably the best place to go. That's what leads people to the best offers.
Oh, I love it. This has been fascinating for me, and it was fun that we took it a couple directions. But I love what you're doing with this software and everything else. Wish you the best, man. You've been an incredible guest, and obviously a friend for a long time. And we'll see you around with all the circle stuff.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Great spending time with both you guys, and thanks for the great questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.